make it quite clear, I'm not up here with my hand out asking for money. I'm not out here as the advocate for or against impact fees, tax, or fire fees. I am, however, up here to tell you and give you a detailed look at a looming critical problem within our agency. Is what I want you to see. And that originally when I did this presentation for Mr. Hedges, this was, sorry, I have to correct Jim. This was part of an overall strategy for me to look at what our agency was going to be faced with in 2030. I was looking at things that most people don't typically look at. I was looking at car tags. We had 31,000 car tags last year. In 2012, we did 19,000 car tags. I was looking at the amount of kids at the using our recreation over the years. I was looking at enrollment in school. So those are the things that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at where your water lines are going. I'm taking a look at the data that's in front of you. That's a heat map. That shows where our volume is 2018 and then 2019 to date. And then
call volume.
It's call volume. It's where things are happening. And then the last one is stuff that happens after midnight. Now, y'all don't have those two. I've only got two up here. They'll pass them down.
If we just get rid of River Forest, we'd get rid of some of it. No, I'm just kidding. George, can you keep these people healthier up here in this area blew up right here?
Is that where
Well, this is one no. Bolingbroke. John's got some work to do down in Bolingbroke. Anyway,
and
go
I'll
ahead.
tell you, the growing area for us is between 75 and 475 over towards Post Ferry. That's what people. What I found out, though, when I was looking at all this data, is that I can barely meet the 2019 demand, much less what's going to happen if we see 5, 6, or 8,000 more people in this county over the next 10. There's no way I could keep up with that kind of volume. The equipment that we've got is all aging out. So that's what I'm up here today. I'm not talking about people. I'm not talking about building fire stations. I'm talking about the stuff that is necessary for us to remain in compliance with those that license us, with certifies, and that have recommendations of essential equipment. This is stuff that y'all don't typically see or think about because you just don't deal with it. It's, for y'all, it's usually ambulances or fire trucks, right? Well, I'm going to show you that there are some bigger items looming that we've got to deal with. Essentially, this county has traditionally said, we're going to buy all this stuff with SPLOST. And one of my biggest concerns is, one day, the citizens may say no. Now, you 6 years without your cash cow. And then I hear, hey, just go write a grant. That's the same roll of the dice. And those big ticket grants are available, but now everybody competes for them. The money's just not there. They're so restrictive, they only come up once a year. That's not cutting it for us anymore. I'm going to show you that. But I don't come to you without having put things in place to start staving off the problem. And I'm going to talk just about that for just a minute. But what we did was we broke our equipment down into life safety categories. Now, I'm not talking about stop, drop, and roll. I'm not talking about fire codes and ordinances. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about equipment that keeps firefighters alive in hostile environments. And I am talking about equipment that keeps people alive. That's life safety for us. So we took our entire agency and I broke it into 8 manageable bites for you to look at. Now I'm going to breeze through the top half of these. I'm going to spend a little time on the ones in red. But these 8 categories are the vehicles we have themselves, the fire pumps, all right, radios, our cash equipment to include thermal imaging cameras and gas monitors, our firefighting gear, and then the extrication equipment, cardiac monitors, and then the tanks we wear on the back, self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBAs, or we call them BAs, but that's what those are. To breeze through this, I have no backups fire engines at this moment. If we blow a motor in one of the ones that we purchased in the early 90s, I have empty firehouses. There is no vehicle replacement plan that in paper in place for the county other than SPLOST. That's troubling to me a little bit. We're going to have to do something about that. A few things that we've done is we have increased the oversight on maintenance. We work closely with Jeff to ensure that trucks are getting down there more regularly. Things like filters and belts and brakes and tires. We're staying on top of that far better. If you go past the shop, there's always one of our trucks down there. It may not be broken down. It may just be one of the quicker times to get the oil changed. We're doing those kinds of things and staying on top of it. We've also put the insurance forms on people's phones, so they check it off on their phone, and we can keep track of who is actually doing it and who is not, and hold them accountable if they do not do it. We've also got a committee form that's looking to purchase new things. So we've got folks in place that are looking big picture of what we need to purchase in the future. The pumps on the trucks, we've actually gotten this pretty much squared away, although it's been expensive. Past administrations have just kicked the can down the road, but there's no reason why these things should leak. We've got the Cabinets Fire Station. That truck was draining itself. It would dump 1,000 gallons of water on the floor of that fire station at least once a month. It had been doing it for years. Why that never got fixed will be a debate for a different day. I'll tell you that we have fixed that. I explained to Jim that I'll probably take a slap on the wrist at the end of the year in certain line items. This is going to be one of them, because I can't have these things in a house fire. I have been a part of that, and let me tell you, it sucks to have this stop in a house fire. If they break, we're in trouble. And then if they break, the whole truck is useless to us. That's its primary function. So we're sending everything out to 10-8 in town to get tested. And when they find things, we say fix them. Leaking valves, gauges that don't work, that kind of stuff. Lights. There's a set of lights on each truck that tells you how much water you got left, that you're able to look out the window, because I don't have enough people for one to man the pump specifically. So that guy's got to get dressed out and go in, set the pump and go in and handle business, but he's got to be able to look out of that front door to see how much water he's got left. We haven't been able to do that because the lights keep going out. We're fixing all that. It's no longer a problem, but it's expensive. I'm not going to kid you. We're also going out and checking the trucks that don't get used that often. We're flowing water through them. We're working with Jeff at the water department. When he's got to flush hydrants, we'll send a truck out there and flow water. And as he's flushing, we'll just move water with the fire truck just to exercise those things. Matter of fact, it's more detrimental for us to not use them than it is for them to run them into the ground with call after call after call. Radio system, this is one of the few bright spots. I never thought I'd say that. We actually are okay with our allotment. The one issue, there's two issues that I do need to bring to your attention. The first is the cost of replacement is significant. I mean, I just bought a new lower end radio for the brand new ambulance, and it was $3,800 for the radio. A handheld unit for us is about $800. Some of the nicer ones that a few of us carry that have multiple bands on it, those are $3,000 radios. I would suggest a line item between the sheriff's office and us for radio replacement every year, because these things are going to get. I just dropped 2 off at Williams. They just stopped working.
Weren't they supposed to repair those as part of the contract? I mean, go ahead.
I don't know. I know that I'm dropping them off, and I got to have them. Now, the other point of this is this last bullet point. The previous sheriff denied, for some reason, unbeknownst to us, denied us having his frequencies in the radio. Let me tell you something. The whole purpose we pushed this system, well, some pushed this system, was for interoperability, to be able to have conversations with each other. We can't do that still with the sheriff's office. They got all our channels, but we don't have theirs. To fix that problem is going to cost us $7,500 to have them remapped and re-identified. That's sitting on my desk right now. It's like $72.80, but it's Williams, so I rounded up.
Can we negotiate that? Can we?
How does the sheriff feel about that?
The new sheriff matter of fact, the new radios I purchased all have sheriff's office frequency in them. He is completely on board with making sure we have it. I need $7,500 to fix that problem. The stuff that's on the trucks, Essentially, we took the ISO recommendation list and the state required fire standards list. We've combined them into one. We go over when we're making sure now we're walking through each truck piece by piece to ensure that everything has the equipment on it that it is supposed to have and that is needed. Not frivolous, but needed. And then we're turning around and putting the commonly lost and broken things, spanner wrenches, which is what we use to tighten hoses together. Those things get lost. They're small, they get lost, it happens. So we're keeping a cache of those together because it's easier for us to buy them as 10 and we'll save a couple $100 as opposed to buying one at a time as needed and we got it in case something happens. Our thermal imaging cameras, which we use regularly, and our gas monitors are now end of life. They've got to be replaced. We've only got 4 or 5 thermal imaging cameras. I think we've got 5 gas monitors. We only use gas monitors once a year. We use thermal imagers more for non-fire related issues than we do anything else. People go missing in the woods, sheriff's office and us will go and get a thermal imaging camera and start scanning the woods. You'd be surprised at what you can see way off with a thermal imaging camera. But we're the only ones that have it. The sheriff's office has one on the drone now. But so we use these things, and they also help us in the manpower shortage. Once we get this is an ongoing project. It'll be an ongoing animal forever because between the small couplings and things, we're on top of it. But just know that it's something that we've got to do. Our gear is great. Everybody's got gear within 5 years old. We've had a sufficient light on them. I can buy about 10 sets a year. And that is sufficient to keep us moving in the right direction. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Do we provide that
Yes,
for
sir.
both full-time and
Yes, sir.
volunteer?
Sure do. And part-time.
And part-time, and the county pays for all of that. They don't do any of that. It's okay.
There was a period of time up about 3 years ago that you would see 5 different agencies worth of gear on the scene. Make it be a full DeKalb, Atlanta. That's completely uncalled for and frankly puts us in a difficult position. We've just about all but eliminated that. And we've made sure that everybody's got what they're supposed to get. One of the things that we've asked for is in the plans for the new fire station is to purchase an extractor. This is a special washing machine for firefighting gear. We run a 40% higher chance of developing cancer than the average citizen. So much so that it has been mandated that we purchase special insurance for all firefighters for cancer coverage. That's how rampant cancer is with us right now. I tell folks all the time, they'll just save me a spot at the front of Relay for Life. I'm just not going to get it. But this will help pull that nastiness out of the gear. It's on the plans in place to purchase and put in, but essentially it washes it differently and it pulls all that stuff out of the gear. The other thing it does, aside from remove carcinogens, is it makes the gear last longer. It pulls that abrasive stuff out also that tends to wear down that gear. Once it breaks down, we have to send it off to get it fixed. It's not something you can take up to Sunshine Cleaners and have put again back in. All right, these last 3 categories are ones that I need y'all to pay special attention to. Our extrication equipment, I like to tell folks in the medical world there's 2 kinds of trauma. There's trauma and then there's Monroe County trauma. And we can cut a car apart. But we are aging out our extrication equipment. This is the jaws of life. This is the spreaders that pull metal apart. These are cutters that rip it, and these are rams that push it. And usually they come with a hydraulic unit that's a pump that comes with it that generates all the pressure to make this happen. In the hands of an amateur, this will kill a patient. There's enough force being done that it'll rip limbs off of your body. So this isn't something you screw around with. Well, our stuff is 20 years old. Our stuff is so heavy that you will tire out a guy holding a 70-pound set of spreaders. The stuff that's out now is battery powered. 20 and 30 pounds lighter, it generates the same pressure that the others do. We need to be transitioning to this stuff. The problem we run into is that we're breaking these sets. They're aging out. We can't get replacement parts for them because they're so old. We We have them inspected yearly and certified yearly, but we're losing at least one of those components every year. That's an issue now, because if I lose a spreader, I technically lose a whole set. Because without those, I can't complete the necessary tools and tasks to get somebody that is entangled in a car or truck out. We also need struts for stabilizing cars on their sides or on their roof. And we also need airbags for lifting. Now, people look at me like I'm crazy. Would you believe that 2 to 3 times a year we have to lift a car off of somebody? About 3 weeks ago, we had a girl, a 19-year-old, ejected at 42 and 74. She was ejected out of the sunroof. They all ended up in the trees, and the car landed on top of her. So the roof is pinning her to the ground. We have no way to lift that vehicle off of her. Now, it took some, I'm going to call it redneck ingenuity. We got the car off of her, but the guys had to listen to her for about an hour scream under the car. All right, we lift these cars. We would use struts monthly. We have to use the cities. Now, the city went out to that one. The picture I showed you when I came here saying we got another buy an ambulance, it was the night of graduation, and the car rolled from 75 and Monroe Road off-ramp all the way into the trees. We had to strut that vehicle because he's teetering on a fence, halfway ejected, his legs are pinned with a closed head injury fighting. And we had to stabilize it because I can't have that car flip over on top of the responders. We use them. An average set of new tools is $45,000. To replace our whole fleet is going to cost, our whole set would cost us around $400,000 or more if you throw in the airbags and struts. There are some demo sets available that we can probably go out and purchase relatively inexpensively, but again, they have been widely and highly used. So in a pinch, I can start making phone calls and find a demo set. Battery stuff is out there. We have a set in Smart, and it does really, really well. I like it. Our cardiac monitors, the last 2 categories are the ones that we cannot work without. We got to have them. End of story. Cardiac monitors are used 10 to 15 times a day. We have to have them for they're essential to our tasks. Everything is based, as far as drug therapy is based on this. We have moved into an area of pharmaceutical therapy that only one other agency in the state does. We are delivering patients that are so completely treated that hospitals are kind of at a loss as to where to start next. I mean, we're going to be treating your heart attack. If you go to the hospital with chest pain and you're having a heart attack, before they send you to the cath lab, they give you a drug called Plavix, and they give you a drug called heparin. They're blood thinners. They're powerful blood thinners. They let that work for a minute so they can get you up to the cath lab. As of today, or yesterday rather, we're one of 2 agencies, ambulance services in the state, that now does that. We do it in your driveway. This is going to, we have stepped way out there ahead of everybody else. I can't do it without a cardiac monitor. I can't even diagnose the STEMI without it. We have 6 currently. 3 of the 6 are, well, actually we really only have 5 because we've had to Frankenstein parts from one of them to keep one of the main ones running. Philips Medical got out of the cardiac monitor business after the FDA shut them down for bad data, which means we can get a service agreement through a third party just to keep them serviced, but it'll cost us about $12,000 a year just to make sure the blood pressure reads correctly, not fix it because there's no parts out there. We need 7 is what we really need today. That gives us a backup per truck and 1 to run for our ALS car that we're running, our truck that we're running. Each one is $32,000 a piece. I need 6, I really need 7. The one bright spot to this is that there is an assistance to firefighter grant that's floating out there right now that we have applied for that would replace our fleet for, I think it's a 10 or 15% match. If we can get that, what we have gotten, and I've been told, is that when we get an email from the, I can't remember, some awards management management, which is sam.gov. If you get an email from them that says, hey, make sure your sam.gov account is up with all your financial information, that's a good sign that you have made it to the final approval process. It does not mean you're going to get it, but it's a good sign. That's great. That would absolutely save us in this category. If we do not get it, I can assure you that come December of this year, you're going to see me standing up here asking for $250,000 to replace this stop. I can't work without these. Ours work fine right now, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to use them. The hospital used Philips monitors. They actually received word from Philips that says you have to pull them off of your walls. And they now have to rent monitors because of this problem.
Can you get those from them? Just kidding.
I'll put it to you this way. Do you want
No.
heart attack and misdiagnosed?
No, you know I don't. You know I'm messing with you.
Now, this is the one that's the most trouble. I have about 100 of the tanks, SCBAs. They were purchased on a grant in 2003.
16 years.
16 years ago. Fire standards requires us to have one air pack with a spare tank. So an air pack is the frame itself with the regulator, the mast, one tank, and then they were required to have a spare with it for every seat in the truck. You got a 4-seater truck, you got to have 4 plus 8 bottles. You got a 2-seater truck, you got to have 2 plus 4 bottles. ISO and NFPA require 4 plus spare tanks. Now that's for what's called the 2 in, 2 out rule. That means that every single fire we should have 4 people minimum in every one. So 2 can go in and work, 2 can be outside to take care of them. We can't meet that. Don't even try to think we can. The current tanks that we've got are 30-minute tanks. I'm not gonna worry you with the pressures. That's more of an us thing. I understand that there's 2 types. There's 30-minute and there's 45-minute. We carry 30-minute tanks. The whole shooting match we've got are all 30-minute tanks, except for one. I've got a 45-minute tank, and that was just because I'm that. I need more air.
Go ahead.
On average, on average, they've got a 15-year shelf life. Okay? The NFPA standard changes about every 3 years, but as long as they stay certified within the standard that they were manufactured by, they're completely okay. So don't think that we have to change this stock every 2 years because the NFPA board said that you should do that. And absolutely not. I've got 80 packs on trucks right now. I have 90 tanks available. Here's the problem. 57 of those are expired. Every single person I've talked to has said they've got to come off the truck today. Today, I've got to get them off. We have a catastrophic failure of an expired tank. I'm going to tell you now, the check you write will be significant. They don't happen often, but when they do, they take the back of the head of the firefighter off. Okay? We're not even supposed to refill them. We can't even hydrostatically test them, which is required every 5 years. 17 of these bottles that are left, I've got to do hydrostatic testing on them today. But we can't pull them off because if I do, I'll run into some trouble. If we were to pull these 57 off, almost our entire fleet is now non-compliant with fire standards and training. 25 of the packs are without a pass device, and this is a safety feature that's put into the pack. Remember, we operate usually in a zero visibility environment, so if the guy behind you or in front of you stops moving, you can't see him. Well, these devices are set that after 30 seconds of no movement, it starts to alert. After 45 seconds, it lets everybody know that this guy ain't moving. We got to do something. Well, a quarter of our packs don't even have that device in them. 30 of these packs have failed heads-up displays. The, scuba tanks, you got your little thing that floats and tells you how much air you got left in it. Well, ours have that also. Unfortunately, they've been smoked over, smoked out, melted. Or again, you're in an environment where you can't see the damn gauge. So what they've done is they've built that gauge into the front of your mask. So you don't have to worry about all that. You just kind of have to look across your eyes and look down, and you can see green lights, yellow light, red light. See yellow light, it's time to start leaving. All right? A third of them, that doesn't even work. Remember, these things are 15 years old at a minimum. We've just never had the money allotted to replace them. Since I've come in 2018 and 2019, we have had all the packs themselves completely inspected and recertified through an independent person. They have done that. I've got the records on all of them. But we averaged those 2 years 4 to 6 pack failures. I can't buy parts for them. We can Frankenstein them together, but that involves sending them off. If we were to replace the entire stock, you're looking at $500,000. Then this is if we go to the next generation of pack. You can guarantee, though, that the number is going to be between $4,000 and $5,000 a piece if we stay with our current setup. We go to the newest generation air pack, we're looking between $4,000 and $5,000 a piece. There are options out there. These were just 3 of them I threw together. If we go with the status quo that we've always done, well, Matt, you got some FOSS money left over, spend it. Well, that's going to cost me a fire engine at a minimum to do that. Remember, I don't have any spare trucks. I got half of my fleet qualifies for an antique tag. So if I do that, I can do it. I can do it today. I can stand up here at the next commission meeting and take SPOS money and fix my SCBA problem. But it's going to cost me in the long run. From stuff that can last us longer if we manage it correctly. Ultimately, and here's the best analogy for these air packs and these cardiac monitors and these extrication equipment. You don't hand a patrol deputy a 15-year bulletproof vest and say, go get in a gunfight. You don't hand them 15 and 20-year-old ammo and say, go get in a gunfight. You don't hand them a patrol car that's 15 years old and say, go chase a bad guy. It's the same equation. And that's the position I'm in right now, is I'm asking these guys to throw antiquated equipment and go into the most hostile environment this county has. That's where I am. This has been building for about 6 years.
Let me ask you a question. You're talking about the gear. They've got to have 4 per truck, the gear plus a backup headset, plus a backup tank.
Just a backup tank.
And a lot of the trouble we've had are with the gauges reading in the mask. And some of the guys I've talked to said they would rather not have them. They'd rather have the gauge that they can look down and be sure what it is.
I don't know who you're talking to, but you need to stop listening to them.
Well,
because this is...
all this modern technology stuff costs us a lot of money, and you're supposed to have a flashlight in these places, and we've got equipment now that's got those lights in it. They've been failing. The gauge here does not fail.
Can't see it, John.
Well, you got a flashlight, all you got to do is look down. I mean,
you can't see it. Have you?
I talked to Ronald Norris, because I was discussing some of the stuff with him, and where the state says we got to have 4, we don't ever have 4 people riding in a truck. Take the other seats out. Take 2 of them
It
seats
doesn't work
out.
that way. You don't remove the seat to get away from the minimum requirement.
Well, then we need to talk with the state about that, because we don't anywhere go with 4 guys in a fire truck.
And that's sad, first. Second of all, that's not going to fly. I'm going to tell you. I used to work for them. Do you know what it
I mean,
took
I'm
for
all
me
for
just to-
buying the equipment, but them telling us, it's just like them putting a roundabout and putting lights up, telling us we got to pay for and maintain them.
Yeah,
It's the
no,
same thing out there. They tell us do this, let them fund some of this stuff.
They fund a grant now based on fireworks for volunteer departments that you can get $5,000. That's
And these suits we're giving out to the part-time people and the volunteers, I got a problem with that.
Have you ever
because
been burned in a house fire? I have. I had second-degree burns from...
I'm not talking about getting burned like that, Matt. What I'm talking about is we got a damn bunch of these damn part-time people and these volunteers don't even reply. They just want the radio and they want the equipment.
If you want me to start getting rid of them, that's not a problem. But I'm telling you now, I got 11 part-timers, and I use them all the time.
But then how many of them you got that are sitting out there don't come? Just like that fund we're talking about, the volunteer, we're talking about giving that $25 per month to help pay for that stuff.
$100 per month.
I mean, it's a lot of money right here. There's a lot of stuff we need to do. I agree. I tried to call that scuba tank place, see what these tanks cost,
Can't buy them from there.
and find out what, I mean, their tanks meets just about the same certification process y'all do as far as, and don't we fill our tanks ourselves now? We bought that thing, I remember Donnie got it. And I agree with you, those tanks go bad, but I want to find out if there's not a better way or a better tank. The better tank to buy is that 45-minute one.
Yeah, well,
But then, if you buy a 45-minute one, then is the backup got to be the same? Or can't we use one of the cheaper ones?
no, sir. If you're going to, my recommendation, if you just say, hey, man, I'm fixing to hand you a pot of money, what's your recommendation is to stay with what we've got currently. Because remember, we still have an allotment that's good. So why would we replace all of it when I can replace a good chunk of it? But that's going to take an investment each year for me to continue building, and pretty soon we don't have to make these huge investments.
How many trucks we got now, 13?
13.
And so that means you'd have to have a minimum of 4 suits on each one and 8 tanks on each one.
Minimum.
How often do they use this equipment?
A couple times a month. Plus they train them. The issue
How expensive those headset?
when you what headset are you doing?
The thing they put over the head, they hook the air tank to. It's got the goggles on it, tells them the gate, the
heads up display.
green, red.
4,000 to 5,000 per pack.
And how many of those you need?
To replace the fleet, I need 80 to replace the entire stockpile, 80 to 100. To get us to meet to make 2019, to fix what I've got, not move forward, just to get to where we are compliant today, I need 50.
But how many full-time firemen we have?
35.
So they should all be equipped. But any part-time or volunteers, I'd let them go with just regular mask and a gauge.
You can't buy them that way anymore. They're all integrated. This is the new NFPAs. They're not going to sell me a tank. They're not going to sell me any equipment that's below the 2019 NFPA standard. No manufacturer is going to do that.
They pass on the existing stuff we got to them because
it stays on the trucks. It's not issued to them individually. It stays on the truck. They're not riding around with it in their trunk.
Okay, then I misunderstood you. I thought that each one of their suits had to have this.
No.
So this is just for the 4 to stay on the unit.
Coat, pants, boots, gloves, helmet, hood. That's a suit.
Turnout gear.
That's turnout gear. The SCBA, the